So today I'm going to talk about the mystical marriage, which is the marriage between the male and the female. And before the male and the female are working in harmony, we cannot become masters of our reality. We cannot be fully realized beings because this is the female for today's production and this is the male. If we're an unconscious female energy, we are caught in sensation, right? Being an empath and being overwhelmed by sensation. If we're an unconscious male, we have tunnel vision, we're only focused on achievement, we're ignoring our feelings, right? In unconscious female, we might be getting hijacked by our emotions and being really reactive, and therefore the mind becomes limp and incapable of doing anything. So I wanted to give you visuals and just my energy about this topic, to see if it could help or to see if it will illuminate something within you. So I want to talk about, so in the context of the mystical marriage, this means that the male and the female work together. And if you really imagine like the female as a human female and the male as a human male, and of course if you're in a homosexual relationship or in any kind of relationship, doesn't matter, we all have inner male and inner female. But let's just call this the female and the male. So in order for them to be in a happy marriage, I want to explain to you what that looks like in the personality. And this is, they say that balancing the genders, I would call it marrying the genders, is the hardest hermetic principle to master because people are incredible escape artists at avoiding the female. Their feelings, their knowing about a situation, right? Experts at avoiding my feelings, stuffing them down, avoiding my intuition, which is an inner knowing of what I need to do in a situation, right? I know what I have to do, but I pretend I don't know, right? Therefore, we create chaos. If you know you're supposed to, if you know that you're being called to leave a relationship, but you don't leave, you create chaos. If you hold on to something that has run its course, you create chaos, right? When we honor what we feel, we can move forward with a presence and an acknowledgement of what is and create less chaos. And that clarity of ourselves creates more clear manifestations that are a representation of who we truly are, of our divine self. So in the personality, what does it look like when they're not getting along? Well, depending on the person, if you're an avoidant type, I guarantee you that your male pays no attention to the female. And you know what? Let's just for the sake of this story, say that you're an avoidant man. And you might attract a lot of very needy women that really have maybe abandonment issues and that want attention. And why is that? It's because your emotional body is actually begging for your attention, but your male is out on vacation, totally avoiding her. So our inner reality is it is the cause of the hologram of the external reality. There is no external reality. There is no external reality. Our relationships are a hologram of our internal dynamics. So if you are an empath that attracts narcissistic abuse, what does that look like inside of you? Well, that looks like I have a very sensitive emotional body and I beat up on myself for it, right? Could look like that. There's different types of narcissists. Some narcissists are actually withdrawing love and being distant, but a lot of them are critical. They attack you. They don't care how you feel because you're doing it to yourself. So if I have all these emotions and knowings and I refuse to acknowledge them, if my body is begging me for rest, but I refuse to rest, right? I have an internalized narcissist, an unconscious male energy that is beating up on my female. If the female is loud, right? Really loud, maybe wrath, fury, maybe you have so much unacknowledged anger from abuse that you've experienced from your childhood, from other lifetimes. It doesn't matter. You know what? Time doesn't exist. If you had a childhood that was that caused you to have wrath. You've had a wrath since the beginning of time. This is the charge that this is what you were charged with, to heal this wound of wrath. Okay, it doesn't matter when it happened. You have it. You have it like a blemish on your soul. The cause, the spiritual, comes before the physical. So your childhood did not create anything. It was caused by God, right? It was already created and it manifests in the physical world. So our job is to heal the wound. How do we heal the wound? Well, if we have a lot of unacknowledged wrath, right, that could look like a lot of things. We can push it down and then it comes out as like being critical of others, putting people down, clipping people's wings, snuffing people out when they are successful, right? Because we're doing it to ourselves, where we can't cope with or sit with the intensity of our feelings, so we spew it out onto other people. If you have a loud emotional body that's unacknowledged, not only are you going to project it into your environment and hurt people, you're hurting yourself, you're hurting your health, and what can happen with the mind is that it can become ineffective, right? A big scary woman who's demanding attention, like being really emotional, even being emotionally absorbed, like some people that are very emotionally absorbed, always suffering, always the victim, right? The mind can become ineffective and almost like without any drive, because he's scared of her, right? So how would you address that? Well, you would say, okay, what am I upset about? Instead of being scared of myself, I'm going to be curious and turn towards it. I'm going to turn towards you. To have them be married, they have to turn towards each other. So she cannot want to destroy him. He cannot want to destroy or avoid her. She cannot want to harm him, right? They have to turn towards each other. And what that looks like in the center is loving presence, right? Presence, acceptance, awareness. If my emotional body is loud, especially if you have a lot of physical symptoms, right? If you have a lot of physical symptoms in your body, chances are you're ignoring this one. You're ignoring it. Let's say you have ignored your emotions your whole life, okay? Where do you start? Where do you start? Well, on a daily basis, they're attempting to make their way into your consciousness so that you can be present with them, so that you can turn towards them, feel them, accept them, breathe through them, right? So they're always trying, but if you don't feel the emotional energy, just tell God, tell the universe. All you have to do is say, I'm ready. I'm ready to let this go now. I'm ready to progress this energy. I'm ready to untrap it, uncage it. I'm ready to progress it. Talk out loud and say it. I'm ready to progress this situation. Bring it on. It will be brought on, trust me. Ask with sincerity and you begin a process, right? You begin a process even if you ask unconsciously, right? If you're suffering and you can't understand why you're suffering, you're asking unconsciously to be healed. But you can ask consciously and make the process go faster. So another thing that's important about, and this has to do with mind mastery, when you are completely present with an emotion, let's say it's the fear of abandonment. Okay, let's say the fear of abandonment is being triggered. I'm going to just tell you a story from my life that was very potent, and I'm going to tell you how to really master your mind and your emotions, basically in one pop. I was in a relationship where the person had the tendency to disappear and distance themselves. And when I felt abandoned, I felt like a chicken with my head cut off. And this only came into my awareness at this stage in my life. Before I was in a relationship my whole life, I never felt abandoned, right? This came out in my life more recently. And I would feel such a strong, almost like I would call it a bullet train of shame. Like I have no tribe, I have no one. I feel abandoned by God. So in the midst of this turmoil, I just pause. Ugh, it's painful. It's painful to pause because there can be so much. It can be moving so quickly, and it's such a, I call it a bullet train. You can feel like you're on a bullet train of emotional energy, but you have the ability to pause. And I paused and I said, what is this really about? You can't, the most potent way to reprogram your belief system is in the moment you are feeling a reaction. Yes, you can do automatic writing and you can write a question, but in the moment that I'm feeling abandoned, I ask myself very sincerely, what is this really about, Alex? What is this really about? For me, it wasn't really about abandonment, which is funny. It was more about FOMO. It was about, I feel like I will never have what I want. That person's over there, being called to experiences, getting opportunities. I think I'm reacting to loneliness or abandonment, but if I really sit with the feeling and sincerely and pointedly ask, what is this really about? This is about that I have a core belief, I have a construct in my mind that I don't deserve to be happy, that I don't deserve what I want, that I will always be missing what really matters to me, and that God isn't sending me anything that I truly want. Okay? Well, thank you, Madame, for being loud. And I paid attention to you. I turned towards you. And she revealed to me what is agitating the mind. What is agitating the mind? Right? People say, like, just watch your mind, just watch it, don't do anything with it. Sure, that's fine. But I think the way that I do it is that the mind, when you go to the source of the noise and you dismantle it, there is quiet. There's quiet. You don't have to watch your noisy mind for eternity. The noise is a message that you have a belief. It's an agitation. It's an echo of a belief system. This is a very quick way to dismantle it. Turn toward the feeling. Sit with it, and in a very pointed, which is conscious male energy, in a pointed way, sit with it and ask, what is this about? This is about, I don't believe I will ever be happy. I don't deserve to be happy, and that God is not going to send me the things that really matter to me, and that I will be left behind. It's not about that person. It's not about even what consciously I thought it was about. That's what it's about. And all of that information is in the packet of that emotional energy if you go directly into it. It's amazing. That is the fastest, most efficient, most potent way to reprogram your beliefs. But it's not even about reprogramming your beliefs. It's just about deleting a faulty thought. It's about saying, oh, that's ridiculous. That's a lie. One of the best lines on A Course in Miracles is every unloving thought, or it says only loving thoughts are true. Therefore, all unloving thoughts are untrue. That's your opponent. That's your conditioning of the world. That's the separate self survival thoughts. Once I see it clearly in the present moment, where the male and the female are married, I can see it clearly. I realize instantly that it's not true. And it dissolves. Boom. It dissolves. It dissolves. And you know what? If it rears its ugly head again, I just remember, that is just a construct. A construct is like a room. You can literally tell yourself, I'm just in that room again. Boop. Nope. Dissolve. Dissolve, dissolve, dissolve. You can't master your mind until you turn towards your emotional body. Period. So, if you do not turn towards your emotional body, and it's interesting because even with all of the information out there about be present with yourself, feel your feelings, what I see in humanity is like a repulsion, like a hatred of the human experience, a hatred of the emotional experience. Having the mystical marriage looks like, in a moment that you're triggered, okay, if you're a person that's done a lot of shadow work, don't start analyzing it and being judgmental, right? what it looks like, it's like, okay, I'm being triggered. The male comes and gives her a hug. Okay, it's okay. It's all right. And what that feels like internally is like, it literally feels like a little hug in your heart. It's okay. And when you accept it, you see the truth about it. What am I really triggered by? Or sometimes you don't need to understand anything. Sometimes something is a construct or a core belief that would really serve you to deconstruct. Sometimes it's just a trigger that, if fully embraced and accepted, it goes poof, and it turns into love. And that's it. And the more you choose to turn towards the self, to have coherence, to have unity within, the more you choose that every single day, that's going to become your default. It's going to take on a momentum of its own. But in a nutshell, do not tell the universe, I'm ready to face everything that I haven't felt. I want to turn towards it. I want to turn towards it. I want to marry my male and my female. When the male and the female work together, you can move mountains. The ultimate trick that keeps us small is that we don't allow these parts of ourselves to work together. It's the ultimate trick. Because if I am eternally wasting all my energy trying to avoid my feelings, I can't get shit done. I can't fulfill my purpose. I remain fragmented. And I can't unfold in the present moment where I already have everything. You can't do any of those things. And when you unfold into the present moment where you already have everything, a nuclear energy moves through you and does create. Sometimes that's just creating a family. Sometimes that's just influencing the electronic molecules in your neighborhood to more well-being. What that looks like is individual, person by person. But of course, that's the great work, to find out what it looks like for us. So I hope this is helpful, and I hope you have a beautiful day.